Hello, welcome back to the Talent Tap podcast. I'm your host, Danny Lachmandas, and founder of Crintalo. At Crintalo, we implement AI tools into businesses. And today with us, we have Brad Federman, CEO and founder of PerformancePoint.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing today,
I'm
Brad?
doing well. Glad to be here.
Good. It's great to have you on. Where are you calling in from today?
I am in Germantown, Tennessee. It's a suburb of Memphis. So yeah,
Nice. I am just up the road from you in Nashville. Not very well.
good city. See, I lived there for a couple of years. I enjoyed it.
No, it is. It's home for me, so it's been a good time living here for sure. Yeah, to kick things off, could you share a bit about your professional journey and what led you to become such a recognized voice in leader development and talent management?
Appreciate that. Thank you. I started with Accenture, which is a great consulting firm. It was a great place to cut my teeth and learned a lot there. Then I went internally for a while at a couple different companies. I was at Norel Services. I was also at Humana Inc. And then I got recruited out by a consulting firm. I worked for them, and what got me really started on my own business and really taking this to a different level was actually a bit of a crisis, right? So I was working for a company. I was asked to help them come up with an exit strategy for the founder. I worked with another individual on that exit strategy. We were supposed to get a cut of the deal. I was never supposed to have to work again in my life. I would have continued to work because I enjoy working, but I was supposed to be set up, right? And every time we got closer to the deal and we had our agreement ready, the founder would want to change our agreement or something in our agreement, and we keep sending it back to the lawyers. And essentially, the merger roll up that we created for his exit, the train was leaving the station, and he got paid out an outrageous sum of money. He'll probably never ever spend it, and changed his mind and didn't give us any part of the deal. And so I found myself needing to work, feeling completely let down and devastated by the fact that his word was broken and all my entire future had changed overnight. And I sat down and said, what am I going to do? And I thought, well, I did this for somebody else. I can do it for myself. And there it was born. But I wanted to do it a little differently. I wanted to make sure that it was not about growth at all costs, exit strategies. I wanted to really make sure that we provided value and value for our clients. So that was kind of the mindset. And I wanted to create a community. The team that I would bring on, I wanted them to do well when we did well. And when we didn't do well, I would be the one that would suffer first. My perspective was, as a leader, I need to put my people ahead of me. And that was kind of how I came at the whole process. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really unfortunate what happened to you with the other company, and I'm sure you were devastated after that, and it's not something easy to go through. Whenever something negative happens to me, I always try to think, what have I learned from this? What can I learn from this experience? And as a business owner, you get put through so many tough situations and negative things. And I mean, with what happened to you, I'm sure it helped you grow, and it helped you realize that it's going to be hard as a business owner, and it almost kind of prepared you for what being a business owner is, because it's not always sunshine and rainbows. There's always fires to put out. Every day it's something new, and when people have those tough experiences earlier in life, it really prepares you for starting a business and becoming a business owner, because it's one of the hardest career paths anyone can take in life.
Absolutely. 100%. I'm There are a lot of people that look at life as a series of lucky or unlucky events. And I believe that in every situation, good, bad, or ugly, we have choices. What we do with those choices is what determines our long-term situation, generally speaking. So I'm not going to disregard there's chance, but to say it's all chance means that I'm not going to take accountability for my choices. And I think that you have to look at both in your life. And so I'm a big believer that my choices make a difference. And I think that those choices have really shaped my life, sometimes for the best, sometimes not for the best, but you learn from them and you get better with them over time. And when you do that, you take responsibility, really cool things happen. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, and I always say it's more about how you react to an incident than the incident itself sometimes. Your reaction will make the world of difference in the bigger picture.
I agree. 100%.
What would you say is a core philosophy or principle that has guided you throughout your career?
I'd say, well, there's a couple of them. One is 99.9% of problems can be solved. You just have to have the right mindset and be willing to work the problem. So I use that so that I don't react. If I do, it's a short moment. I'm in my pity puddle, and then I walk right into, okay, what's next? And I think that's a big one that has worked really, really well for me. The second one I think has worked well is others before self. If I'm curious and interested in other people, that's when great things happen. That doesn't mean that I'm always good at it, but it means that I strive to be good at it, and I work really hard at it. When I do it, I notice the difference, right? So I think that's another one. And then the third one I think is really important is life is complicated. It's full of gray areas. Everybody wants the silver bullet. They want the easy answer. And I think that the beauty is in the complexity. And I think that's with people too. And so when I'm in a situation where people see things differently than me, as long as people are being polite, professional, I'll talk about anything and everything with somebody. I'll work through all the crazy stuff, right? And I think that there's value in that. You learn from other people that think differently than you do, and they learn from you. But in order to do that, you have to not react. You have to be able to stay calm and work through things and recognize that everybody sees the world differently, and that's okay. In fact, there's beauty in it. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I love surrounding myself with people that have different views and talking to them about it. And maybe I grow from that. Even in business, I try and put myself around people that are smarter than me, that know more than me, that can bring up my weaknesses, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Given your extensive experience, what are the most significant trends you're observing in leadership and in talent management today? What would you say is keeping executives up at night?
I think the technological AI revolution and how does that work? How does it work with your people? How do your people embrace it? What's going to happen when it displaces people? How's it going to impact our customer base? I think those are the big kind of esoteric questions we're asking. And then I would also argue, I think, how do we stay relevant as an organization and keep our people relevant with so much change happening so fast? And I think that leads to the last one, which is not what they're asking, but it's what I'm pushing. I think we need to start asking that is what do we need to drop in terms of our leadership development and people talent management practices that we have embraced over the years because the world has changed so much and continues to change so much that it is out of date and irrelevant. And I'm a big believer in that. I'm concerned. I think that there are a lot of leadership teams, HR teams, and organizations that are using models from the 70s, the 80s, even the 90s, sometimes even before, that are actually killing their businesses slowly rather than helping their businesses. They've bought into benchmarks that make them look at the past rather than the future. And we've shifted so much. You can't stay with the old. It'll hurt your business.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that is just some of the older generation. I mean, I know my parents are that way. They're boomers and they like to do things the old way. And I try and tell them all the time there's so many ways that you can be efficient, even not even with AI, but just the internet and even AI. I'm in the AI business, but I don't believe that AI is just going to fully replace the human. Think the human element is very much needed, but the way that the internet technology AI can make things so much more efficient, save time, save money, I think it's something that needs to be explored and people need to learn. And just I think that older generation is a little skeptical or they just don't know how to do it. What worked for them before and worked for so long, they're not really wanting to change.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think that's some truth to that, not just in terms of leadership models and people practices, but in terms of the tech piece that you just talked about. I think you have two things going on. You have fear-based approaches to the technology, which means we're not going to touch it. I'm scared of it. And then you have this, we have to adopt it. We have to adopt it without a thought process or strategy associated with it. And so I see a lot of people avoiding learning and I see a lot of other people who are wasting money just doing, we got to use AI. We've got to use
Yeah.
AI. And the truth of the matter is, it's a tool. It is not the centerpiece. It is not the source. It is a resource that needs to be utilized appropriately at the appropriate times in the appropriate ways. And when we don't think about that, we either don't make back the investment in the technology that we spent money on, or we actually hurt our business using the technology that we spent money on, or we fall behind because we're not using it at all, right? And so I think there's this balancing act that organizations and individuals need to find where they're using the new technologies responsibly, thoughtfully, in a way that builds connections with your employees and builds connections with your customers and drives the business forward. And in order to do that, that takes real planning and thought and strategy. And it's not about using the technology. It's about strategizing for your business and then seeing where the technology can help with that strategy. It is a secondary piece. It is not the first piece. Does
Yeah.
that make
No,
sense?
agreed, agreed. I was talking to someone a few weeks ago and they said, "I'm not afraid of AI replacing my job. I'm afraid of someone that knows how to use AI replacing my job." And I do think that that is where the world is going. And it goes back to that learning aspect you said. I always tell people that if they're scared of losing a job or AI is going to replace them, start learning about AI, learn as much as you can, learn how to use it effectively because someone that knows how to use it effectively is going to get exponentially better results than someone that's a casual user. And I do think businesses are going to be looking for those people. Those will be the jobs coming up in the future. Businesses looking for people that are trained on AI and know how to use it effectively. Because, like you said, it is just a tool, and a tool is only as good as the user, right? So
Yeah.
the better you are at using that tool, the better results you have. And I do think, like I said, that those will be the jobs that will be opening up in the future for a lot of people that may have lost their jobs, all these white collar jobs that are people are getting laid off from.
Yeah.
I always say just start learning about it and be cautious, right? Someone said also that I was talking to, you're gonna be in the hole if you excuse me, you're going to be in the hole if you go all in on AI, and you're also going to be in the hole if you completely ignore it.
I agree with that 100%. 100%. That's why we've started using it. We use it to make our jobs a little bit easier in different spaces and places. We are using it for helping us take some of what we do and make it better and stronger, accenting parts of it. And we've started using it with products and services for our clients. And there's learning there. So I'm cautious about it. Are we playing in that space? Yes. Have I made significant heavy investments? No. I'm testing things out and seeing what creates value, what doesn't create value, what's working, what's not working, so that when we do make the heavy investment, we know we're going in the right direction, right? But what you described earlier is important. We're learning, right? We're exploring, and I think we're further along than a lot of the folks in our space because of it. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that that is the way to go. Again, fear is probably the biggest factor that holds people back, not even just in business, but in life. If that fear could be controlled, so much more could be done.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there are two problems that we have in life. One is that we react out of fear and we react out of self-interest and greed, right? So the and desire, right? And so what you find is that when you are overly zealous because you think this is it, it's going to be, you do too much. And then when you're afraid, you back off and you run, right? Or you fight it. And so the idea of when you're doing this, keeping your people, your customers in mind. So you're not focused on yourself, the bottom line, the profit margin, the revenue. And first, you want to focus on your customers first. And then don't fear it. Those two factors together, having the right mindset in terms of focusing on your customer or your employees and removing the fear, processing the fear, I should say, will put you in a good spot.
Yeah, yeah, and that's just all about personal development and just learning about yourself and how you react to things. It's a very personal journey, and I think that when you're an entrepreneur, it's one of the first things that you kind of have to overcome versus as a casual employee.
Sure.
What would you say are ethical considerations or challenges that leaders should be mindful of as AI becomes more integrated into people-centric processes?
Wow, that's a big question, Danny. I'll tell you. I think a couple things. One is I think you really need to have a policy on AI right now because people are using it for everything. And so it's one thing if you have your own space where your privacy is covered, but it's another thing if you're using public AI tools. And and there's information about the company or about individuals in the company or about your customers, you can't risk that. So, I just had a healthcare company put together a policy on AI. I helped them with it so that their customers would be protected, right? That, you got HIPAA rules and all that. You can't just use AI for healthcare at will, right? It's got to be within an enclosed kind of camp. So I think that's a big, big piece. I think the second piece is you need to respect proprietary information. People are using AI and they've been using AI models to basically steal proprietary information, right? And then to make it the AI's ownership, and you're seeing lawsuits about that. So I think how you use AI is as important as which ones you use and whether it's private or not. I think that's important. You really do need to respect the work and energy that people put into things. I think that's another piece that I think it's important. The third ethical piece that I would say is think about AI as a tool to create more connections and to support people as opposed to AI replacing people and being more important than people. You said earlier, you want to be the person that knows how to utilize AI. And I think that's true. But I do think that we're living in the first time ever in history where you have companies that have been built with a mission. This has never been the case before, but there are AI companies with mission that basically says, we are going to remove labor from the workforce. Now that's a pretty bold claim. And if those are the people that win, there are two things that are going to happen. One, there'll be people without purpose. Two, there'll be people without funds and capability. And three, I should say there's three things. You'll have cannibalized your customer base and we will have destroyed our economy in the process. So I hope those CEOs who have the mindset of I can replace employees with AI, and the AI companies that have basically said our job is to remove labor from the workforce, and there are a couple that have that kind of a mission statement. I hope they lose the battle, because if they win the battle, we all lose the war, right? Essentially, we've killed what we've created. The experiment dies, and that will not be worth it. So, I do think we need to keep people in front and center of this whole thing.
Yeah, and I say that also, especially in HR staffing and recruiting, the human touch is still very much needed. AI has been good at pre-screening, initial qualifying, but the human still needs to be there. And I think now more than ever, people are craving talking to a human. Some people aren't, but I mean, I remember the first time I went to call Pizza Hut and order a pizza, and it was an AI taking my whole order. I was so, it was a bad experience. And
Yeah.
I mean, those were the bigger companies we saw adopting AI over the past 3 to 4 years. I think the first time I experienced that was a few years ago now. And now with stuff like that, AI receptionists are becoming available to small businesses,
Yeah.
to everyone.
I think you have to watch how you do it. Truly think, there are places I won't order from because I hate the process, because
Yeah.
it's all technology driven. There are companies I don't deal with anymore because it's all technology driven. And when I have choice, I make the choice to go with an organization that keeps the customer front and center, because you can tell when someone's using technology as an efficiency tool versus technology as a tool to make my life better and easier. And when it's done as an efficiency tool and it's a barrier to my experience, I want to run. And so that's my warning to companies is be careful of using technology just to reduce costs, create efficiency, and create a better profit margin, because it's a short-term gain that hurts your business over the long-term haul.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with that. If you could use AI to solve one major problem in leadership or talent management that currently seems intractable, what would it be?
That's a good question. I
Sorry,
hear a
my
dog.
dog, my dog is in here. He's normally quiet.
That's okay.
I'll,
That's okay.
I
What's
can
your
edit
dog's
this
name?
background.
What's your dog's
Axel,
name?
he's a 13-month-old German Shepherd.
All right. Hey, Axel, how you doing? We'll be done in a minute, I promise. So here's what I would say. I wouldn't use AI to solve a problem. I would use AI to scale a solution. I think when I look at AI and people see it as the solution, I get real uncomfortable. When I see AI as a vehicle to say, here's a good solution, can we use AI and technology to scale it? I get very excited. And so I'm going to say I wouldn't use AI to solve the problem. I would use AI to scale the solution. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So,
That makes complete sense. Yeah, and like it's all about how you use it and this strategy you have. And again, the person that you have using it specifically, that makes a difference too.
I'll give you a good example. I think there's value in people having a conversation. There's value in me coaching somebody, but I can't be everywhere. So, for instance, with our culture program, we actually have an AI tool that sits in on virtual meetings or hybrid meetings, and it watches the meetings. And then afterwards, will train it on a particular company's culture. And so afterwards, it will give feedback to the leader and the team as to how well they're living up to their cultural attributes, right? To their values. And that feedback is awesome. I can't be in every meeting. My team members can't be in every meeting. It's too expensive. But you can take that feedback and you can act on it, or you could turn around and say, that's really good. And I could see how I could act on it, but I want to work through that with somebody. I'm going to call Brad or Brian or Jennifer or Nancy, and I'm going to talk to them about the feedback we got from the AI, and I'm going to ask them about how we can actually employ that in our workplace. And so I think it scales people's ability to manage their culture really well. And we've got a couple of different products like that that work. I don't think it's the solution. I think it's part of the solution, and it's used to scale it.
Yeah, a lot of people are using something like that. I think a lot of people that have virtual meetings are using some type of AI note taker because it's hard when you have 10 meetings a day, you're sitting with a piece of paper, you're typing, the note taker can do all of that and you don't have to divide your attention of taking notes and talking to someone. So that is
I agree
a
with you.
huge a huge add value.
It is, but if you can have a note taker, because that's what ours does, it's a note taker, but it also will tell you. So for instance, if it's people first is maybe your value system, and it's defined as having an interest in your people, empathy, and focusing on their concerns and their issues, listening, that kind of thing. And we're in a meeting, and I in the meeting say, listen, we're going through a tough time. You should just be happy you have a job, right? To be able to have the AI turn around and give me feedback and say, Brad, how was that phrase reflective of people first? How could you recognize your sense of urgency and the concerns that you have about the business and still have demonstrated people first? Here are a couple of ways and ideas on how you could have done that. So now it's just not just taking notes. Now it's making me look at my own behavior and going, you know what? The value isn't important when it's easy. It's important when it's difficult. And this was a moment when I could have displayed it. And instead I got short and I did the opposite, right? I need to go back and I can turn around and say, how can I now handle that? And the AI could say, why don't you go back and talk to that employee and share with them that you regret saying that and that you want to talk to them about what their concerns are, right? You can rebound from this. That's an incredible tool. It's more than just a note taker. It's a developer, right? Of you as a person and of your culture as a whole. So it's
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
No, whenever I sign clients with my company, Crintalo, that is exactly something that is included. The note taker is separate, but you're able to upload your notes into an AI analyzer and it will give you full feedback on what you did right, what you did better. It will score it on 1 to 10, and it will tell you how you could rephrase things to get a better response or to speak better. So it's a huge add value. I've been
Good.
using that for a while and my clients use that also.
Good. Good.
It has been good having you on the podcast. It's been a pleasure having you on. Before we end, could you tell me a little bit about what you have planned for the future, the next 2 or 3 years for Performance
Wow.
Point?
Well, we are in a push and growth mode, so we're excited. We've got some people in different parts of the country. We're going to be adding more people in other parts of the country. Our goal is to scale the business up pretty well. We have really focused on some signature products and services, so cultivating culture, never delegate again, which is really about creating growth plans for everybody in your company, so your company stays relevant. We're moving into agility and change and what I would call balanced leadership. How do you balance the needs of your employees, your customers, your business, your community at large, and do that well as a leader? So we're really, really focusing on leadership and culture to a large extent. And we're adding in some great engagement tools like the engagement flywheel. So our goal is to really approach the business. We'll still do custom work and we'll still do work for clients on specific areas, but we want to really go into about 5 core signature areas that we differentiate ourselves from everybody out there, that we do a better job than everybody out there. And so we're using our expertise, our research to build products that meet 2026 needs and beyond, right? That's kind of where our headset is and grow. So we're excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I wish you all the success in
Thanks.
2026 and going forward.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you for coming on the podcast. It's been great having you on, and thank you everyone for listening. We'll catch you on the next podcast.
Take care.